Wurrung land. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present and to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders joining us today. We're all beaming in from a country that is unceded land, water and skies. If you'd like to join me in paying respect in the chat to the country that you're dialing in from, that would be great. So my name's Jim. I'm Grants Manager at Regional Arts Victoria. As the way things are in the world, I'm having a particularly bad hair day today. It's especially foofy, but I see Jimmy's joining me in that. I recognise a few names on the screen and a few faces as well, so it's great for you all to join us on this topic, which is, everybody, the favourite topic of everybody who works in the arts is grant writing. We all love it so much. So this session is very specific to the Regional Arts Fund, though I hope some of these tips are of benefit for other grant programs that you might be applying to. I'll start by providing a little bit of background to the Regional Arts Fund. So we are all very, very lucky to have it. It is a great attribute for the regional arts community all over the country. The Regional Arts Fund is an initiative of the federal government and has been running for quite a number of years. It's a favourite of all political hues. It's not red, white, or blue. The Regional Arts Fund is run through the Office for the Arts, who devolve it to Regional Arts Australia, who in turn devolve it to what are called regional program administrators. So Regional Arts Victoria in our state and our equivalents in every other state or territory. So the program runs with the same guidelines and the same rules in each state and territory. The timing of the offers is slightly different. In Victoria, we offer 2 project grant rounds per year. Some other states and territories only offer it once a year. And in every state and territory that runs the quick response grants, they run monthly from February to November, from the first of the month opening to end of the month closing. The tough reality of the Regional Arts Fund is that there's just not enough money to go around. So these grants are competitive, without a doubt. As an indication, the last project grant round, which successful applicants were notified of only a few weeks ago, the success rate for that program was 11.5%, which is pretty tight. But hopefully some of the tips I supplied today will help get you across the line. So the RAV project grant round is specifically focused on larger projects and professional development opportunities. So the program is open to applications up to $30,000. We have a program open at the moment. It's the second round for this year, and it will be closing on the 12th of August. So that program is focusing on projects that start from the 1st of January 2027, and notifications of success or otherwise will come out in November. As I mentioned, we also run the quick response grants. They run every month from February to November. quick response grants are quite different in that they are specifically designed to address immediate need or short notice opportunities. So the quick response grants it isn't a small grant program. And this is where it differs from many others. It is designed to address those opportunities that come in at incredibly short notice for which no other grant opportunity is available. So that program invites applications up to $3,000 for individuals or up to $5,000 for organisations. And for both programs, applicants need to be regionally based. So they're on our website, there is a map where you can put in your address and it'll tell you whether you're eligible or not. It uses this kooky method called the Monash medical model, which is used by federal bureaucracy to determine regional status specifically for health professionals, but is adapted more broadly across other portfolio areas. That said, applicants can partner with metropolitan-based individuals or organisations. It's not that 100% of the personnel in your project need to be regionally based, but the primary aim for both project grants and quick response grants is that they benefit regional practitioners and communities. So now for the tips. In this conversation, and feel free to pop questions in as the topic arises, and we'll have space for questions at the end as well. I'm desperately hoping that this session does not infer that you bland out your proposals. We are so keen to hear the authentic voice of practitioners and of communities. That's what differentiates your proposal from many others. We're not aiming to create this bureaucratese type response to grant programs by any stretch. Your voice is one of the greatest attributes that arts and culture has. So please be mindful of not losing that. So my first tip would be, sounds counterintuitive, but to read the guidelines. So many times we get inquiries from people that are just asking really, really upfront points that are included in the guidelines, and it's obvious that they haven't made the time nor effort to dig a little bit deeper. New accessible guidelines have just become available. They'll be on Regional Arts Victoria's website shortly. They're specifically designed for people with disabilities or for whom English is a second language. So they're a lot easier to process and screen reader friendly as well. When you're reading through the Regional Arts Fund guidelines for both project grants and quick response grants, it'll become pretty obvious that this program isn't for everybody. There are quite specific objectives of the Regional Arts Fund, and trying to fit a square peg into a round hole is seldom going to work. So the Regional Arts Fund addresses a number of challenges that are faced by regional arts workers and communities, but it can't be everything to everybody, and to some extent that's okay. If it doesn't look as though it's working for your project, maybe interrogate it just a little bit further. But if it's not working for you, it's better to utilize your time better elsewhere. After you've read the guidelines, Regional Arts Victoria have a number of advisors scattered across the state who you can discuss your proposal with. Some of our regional managers are very place-based, and then some of our other personnel are available at a kind of higher whole of state perspective. You can book time with advisors through the funding link on our website. They're very friendly. They don't bite. My sincere tip is to book a time to speak to an advisor early in the process, because especially with project grants, the booking system books out. We have a lot of inquiries and a lot of applicants, and not a whole lot of staff who are busy also doing a lot of other Regional Arts Victoria work during their day. So get in early. The sessions are 15 minutes, so it's best that you take some notes before your conversation with an advisor, so you know the specific questions you need to ask them. And by doing that earlier in the process, it can alleviate going down a garden path that isn't going to be beneficial. And our advisors speak to prospective applicants across the state all the time. They see who's successful and who isn't, so they really are a great asset to prospective applicants. The next step in the process from RAV's perspective is eligibility. So eligibility is essentially a very binary process. It's either yes or no. There are, I think, 6 essential eligibility criteria for applicants to both programs. For project grant applicants, if we have questions around eligibility, we will try to reach out and clarify where it's required. Unfortunately, with quick response grants, by their nature, we turn them around so quickly that we just don't have that same luxury of time. So, especially with quick response grants, the timing is crucial. The projects are focused on immediate need. They need to start 2 weeks after the close of applications. So not 2 weeks from when you submit yours, but 2 weeks from the end of the month. And so they can start from 2 weeks or up to 12 weeks. And we give priority to those that are occurring within 2 to 6 weeks. And then quick response grant projects need to be completed within 12 months. Project grant applications have a start date as well. So for the current round, it's 1st of January, and then the projects need to be completed within 2 years of that date. After we do an eligibility test on all applications, then the next area for applicants is basically responding to the criteria questions. And they have different labels, but essentially they are who, what, where, when, and why. And the why, I keep reiterating, with quick response grants, the why is especially why now. My next tip would be to start preparation as early as you possibly can. So we try to provide as much advance notice of the upcoming rounds as possible. Yeah, as soon as you made the decision that you want to submit an application, start talking to your supporters. Let them know that you are likely to be contacting them about a letter of support or a testimonial, so that you're not leaving it until the last 48 hours. Start drafting, even in just like really big headlines, and focusing your project into the objectives of the program. And it's worth, once you've started that drafting process, it is worth returning to the guidelines and looking at the program objectives and double, triple checking that your proposal is actually what this fund is looking to support. Use simple language in your applications. Many times across all industries, arts and culture, and every segment of arts and culture, we can get lost in our own jargon quite easily, and our own abbreviations, etc. So we use assessors, peer assessors, who are arts workers and artists themselves, who come from all across Victoria, who come from a variety of art forms and a variety of population groups. So we have emerging artists, we have elder artists, people from culturally and linguistically diverse communities across a whole bunch of art forms. They may well not be particularly familiar with the lingo of your own practice. So where possible, try to knock it back. If you're using acronyms that are accepted in your own industry, the first time you use them in an application, use the whole phrase and then use the acronym in brackets, so that provides some context for the assessors. Once you've started drafting your application, or getting nearer to completion, it's very useful to run your proposal past an outside eye, a friend or family member who is totally unfamiliar with your access, with your art form practice, with your project. One of my best mates is a plumber. I often put my own grants past him because he doesn't go to see many arts events and he really doesn't know much about what I do. But if Mick can make sense of it, then I'm pretty well sure that an assessor will be able to as well. Support material is vitally important in these applications. With the QRGs, as I mentioned, let's focus on immediate need. So the assessors want to see access of the immediate need. If you've received an invitation at short notice to a conference, or say you've got a gallery booking, but a more appropriate space in that gallery has suddenly become available, evidence can be crucial in swaying the opinion, not just from your own words explaining the opportunity, but providing that evidence. Be mindful of, there are maximums and caps that are spelled out in the guidelines for both rounds. Be mindful of not exceeding those caps, and where possible, try to consolidate support material into one document, so that there's not an expectation that assessors are opening 7, 8, 10 documents. Include please include information about crucial project personnel. Even like the best known practitioners in our industry will be likely unknown to assessors. So it's vitally important to include that information about key personnel. Triple check websites when you're submitting them. It is unfortunate that we regularly aren't able to open the websites that are submitted with applications just because there might be one character incorrect. To that end, I would also advise, if you're submitting a personal website, then also submitting your CV, because sometimes if the website doesn't work, then that's a lost opportunity to provide background on your practice and your history as an artist or arts worker. Include CVs, both for the applicant and crucial personnel. The bigger the request amount, the more detail assessors want on a proposal. So if you're going for the full $30,000 for a project grant, then the assessors are going to want to see who's involved and learn more about them. Similarly, assessors want to see evidence of support and commitments. So if in your application anybody is providing financial support or in-kind support, it is of great benefit to also have a letter of support from that person detailing the support that they're lending. Similarly, testimonials and reviews. So it might be for work other than what you're necessarily applying for, but having some detail of support from local press and local community members can be crucial in getting proposals across the line as well. Budgets and timelines matter enormously. They both speak to the viability of a project, but they also speak to the emphasis of where the request is. Triple check budgets, triple check timelines. So often projects get to like the final list in a moderation meeting, but then queries are raised about budgets that kind of undercut the viability of the project. So then assessors balk at further support. Data is your friend in applications. If you can find supporting data that can shift a proposal from like a sweeping generalized statement or claim and actually back it up, that is also incredibly beneficial. Many assessors in these programs and others, like what can be measured matters. So if you rather making an ambit claim, assign targets and strategies for the work that you're wanting to undertake. And that's especially important with audience development and community engagement. We often receive applications where people are talking about reach, or they're citing a venue confirmation, but it's also not linked to what is the capacity of the venue, or what what is the projected attendance at a festival? It makes it a lot clearer for assessors to gauge how much thought an applicant has put into their project. Than not including it at all. So include targets and include strategies for achieving those targets. When people are focusing on public outcomes, we all want as many people in the room as possible, but also most of our projects have key targets. Like there are particular portions of the community that we're most interested in engaging with. So outline who they are, why you want them in the room, and what approaches you're going to undertake to get them there. Quite a number of the applications that we receive are for a smaller project, a smaller component of a larger project. But many applicants get lost in speaking about the larger project and not really addressing the component for which they're requesting support. And it can be really challenging to do that in writing. So if it requires like a diagram or a visual representation of what that smaller component is and how it links with the rest of the project, then that can be included in support material as well. The assessors are really keen to know exactly what the funding is going toward and what that funding is likely to impact. My next tip, it goes without saying, I'm as guilty of it as anybody. We've all done it before, but don't leave things to the last minute. As we've seen in the last couple of days with the Telstra blackout, things totally beyond our control can have a huge impact on our timelines. Yeah, with our programs, additional material can't be provided after the submission date. We physically don't have the ability to attach that into the grant making system that the applications go to assessors with. So any late material is not added nor considered. And part of the whole process is to try and alleviate as much as possible any questions or considerations that assessors might have that deal an application out of the mix. So reducing as much friction as possible in your proposal. The assessors are aware that not every question can be answered at the point of application, but applicants can address those questions that haven't yet been answered and signpost the process by which those questions are going to be addressed over the life of the project. Especially with the longer term projects, there's continual learning, continual improvement that happens across the project life cycle. That's to be expected, and better addressed in the application than ignored entirely. And my final tip before going to questions will be to ask for feedback. I am always astonished by the number of successful applicants that don't ask for feedback. I am similarly astonished by grant programs that don't provide feedback. It's my opinion that if you can't provide that feedback, you shouldn't be running a grant program. We go to quite some lengths to provide detailed feedback. It's also good for successful applicants to learn what worked and differentiated their proposal in this instance. But it's also incredibly valuable for unsuccessful applicants to know what sections of their application may have worked and what sections might not have. So we try to get that feedback out as promptly as we can so that it can be addressed in future rounds. Yeah. And so that's about the sum of the space that I'm working in every day. And I'm more than happy to respond to questions that any of you might have. Rebecca Elms is the first hand I see.
Hi, Jim. Thank you for that information. Just a quick question. I just would like to know whether the funds are more geared towards, or whether they're more geared to supporting creative projects, or are they also interested in funding programs? Does that make sense? Is that clear?
Yeah. So we have had applications in the recent past where the applicant has essentially asked for funds that they would then disperse as part of their program, and they're generally not successful. What sort of programs might you be referring to?
For example, let's say hypothetically a pilot program, a shared studio pilot program.
Yeah, the fund is set up in such a way that it does have an outcomes focus, and it can be potentially looked at as a great catalyst for the future development of a program. So if the Regional Arts Fund is the first funder in, and then other funders jump on board after seeing a project or a program gain some traction. Yeah, I guess with a program, it might be a case of illustrating sustainability into the future, how the learnings from the initial pilot are going to be documented, and what avenues for support might exist beyond Regional Arts Fund into the future. Great, thank you.
Jim, I think Marion wanted to ask a question. Marion Roberts.
Sure. Hi, Marion.
Hi, Jim. I'm involved in a theatre company and looking at a quick response grant. I did have a chat with one of the advisors the other day, who kind of told me that our request fell sort of between the categories and didn't really meet the immediate need criteria.
Right.
Because our request was for general things like, we're funding everything ourselves. It's all voluntary and in kind. We are going to have to pay for lighting. We are going to have to pay for PR and marketing and some costuming. And at this point, we don't know where that money's coming from.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that that would fit criteria for a quick response grant, but Joe seemed to, I'm still not clear on this immediate need. I mean,
Yeah.
These
So,
are needs, but
yeah. So the lens I would probably apply to it is that um, the program is specifically for unplanned activities.
Mhm. So
Um,
sort of disasters or things that are unforeseen that could impact the show.
yeah, exactly.
Not
Yeah,
not foreseen things like we need to pay for lighting and we need to pay
yeah.
for. Okay.
And that's probably where the quick response grants are different from a small grant program.
Yeah.
Um, so,
Can you give
so
me
for
a couple
instance, like
more examples of?
hypothetical might be if you had your production was all set up and ready to go, and your venue discovered that they double booked, um, and that suddenly you were venueless. Um, that would be an immediate need as opposed to a self-determined um, project planning, I guess.
Mhm. So, from your experience, would you say, I mean, you've already told me there's an 11.5% success rate, but for our need, which is not one of those you just suggested, would you say it's not really a good fit for a quick response grant? Because it is a very onerous process. There's the actual application.
Yeah, yeah. It is, and I apologise for that. Unfortunately, I have no control over program design.
Mm,
I know that the bureaucrats seem to think quick response grants are light touch, but I certainly don't consider them so.
no.
Um, I I would suggest a project grant would potentially be more better suited for a
Yeah.
proposal of that type.
Okay. Thank you for that.
No worries.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, Jimmy.
So, when filling out the financial part of your application, i.e., income and in-kind expenses or versus expenses, it can constantly turn into a tipping scale situation. One figure completely outblows the next one,
Yeah.
and in-kind work can go far beyond what I feel I can justify logging. Um, is there any advice you can give to streamline this part of the application, or is it is just the tipping scales game? And
Yeah, it is a bit what it is.
yeah, okay,
There have been changes. So we've just clocked over a different financial year. So new forms have come out for the 2026-27 year, where the request is automatically calculated
yeah,
on expenditure versus income. Um, yeah, it's tough,
yeah.
but I don't have a solution for that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Beverly had a question earlier.
I think Sandy had a question too when you're ready.
Okay, Sandy.
Oh, they might be frozen.
It's Lee here. Am I able to speak? Is that possible?
Yeah, hi, Lee. Hang on.
How you going? I'm a newcomer, so apologise if my questions are inappropriate. I haven't spoken
It's weird,
to
it always drops out.
can you hear me
Oh.
okay?
Yeah.
I haven't
Hello?
spoken to an advisor yet. I have an appointment next week, and these couple of questions I have
Yeah, I've
maybe
lost everything.
best directed to them. I have two major dependencies. The project I'm looking at is, I think, filling a void in the regional arts community in remote
Can
locations.
anyone hear me?
And am I still okay to speak?
Yeah, yeah.
I have two major dependencies. One is is the purchasing of an asset, which is over $5,000.
Right.
I think I read somewhere that that's probably not desirable, but due to my remote location, hiring is not really an option. So just wondering whether that will affect my eligibility. And the second question is, being a new, I think a new market, a new area that's been untapped, I'm going to be fairly reliant on organisations like yourself to help me identify existing networks that I can tap into.
Yeah.
To I guess roll this project out over the period.
So the first question, capital expenditure is really challenging for our funding, and especially when it exceeds $5,000. There are extenuating circumstances for those in more remote communities where, yeah, it's understandable that hiring isn't an option. It is largely a case-by-case basis in how that is considered, and requires good narration, I guess, on how crucial that particular expenditure is to the project and what happens with it after the life of the project. Yeah, and to the second question, that's part of Regional Arts Victoria's DNA. It's part of why we exist, is to help make those connections. And yeah, we're not a huge organisation, but we have personnel scattered all over the state who have a good helicopter view of who's doing what where, and good connections in with local government and other portfolio areas. So yeah, if your proposal were to be successful, there's a lot more potential for us to assist.
Great. Thanks very much, Jim. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Jim, we've got a couple of questions. I think we might give Sandy another try if audio is working, and then on to Bronte.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Oh, it might drop out because of where I am. I'm in Porcupine Ridge, which is about 9k out of Dalesford.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and we started an art group out here during COVID in 2021. Just because there's a need for an art group out here, because everyone thinks Dalesford's very arty, but when you come here and you live here, the art galleries are only for commercial, they're privately owned, and we can't exhibit there. So we've been piecemealing exhibitions. We started off with 5 artists. Just very recently, we've got 33 artists in our not-for-profit group.
Wow.
We're registered not-for-profit with Consumer Affairs Victoria. And our emergency, you call it, it's an emergency in that we're having an exhibition next April in the newly open town hall in Dalesford, which they've just spent a lot of money there doing things you can't see, but at least we can use it now. They've spent millions fixing the leaking roofs and putting in electricity, but there's nowhere to hang. We might hang up to 300 artworks, and we've got nothing to hang them on. So we were hoping for a quick response grant of 5,000, plus we're getting an extra 2,000 from our own efforts, our own fundraising efforts, and possibly Rotary, to make many screens that the local men's shed will pay the men's shed to make the screens. Yeah. And we've liaised with the Hepburn Council, we've got a room that we can store all these screens in, and the screens will be used by other people in the community, like the HSC kids from the local high school. We might charge a bond so they look after the screens, you know what I mean? But it's a sustainable, we want to make something that's sustainable for the whole community, not just for us.
Yeah.
But it is an emergency for us. Otherwise, we can't have an exhibition next April. So is this the sort of thing, do you think I've got any chance at all? Or
it might
not?
be difficult with quick response grants.
Right.
Because this seems like the timeline is a lot longer than quick response grants generally want.
But it's going to take that long to build them.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess it's more of a planned activity rather than you could try.
Yeah,
I guess
I could try.
It depends on how much time you have available and how many irons you want to have in the fire to.
Well, I was only going to give this at this stage. I'm an artist, but I also work 4 days a week as a disability care worker. So
Yeah.
in Trentham, so I've only got someone in our group threw me this line suggested you guys because we want to get. We've already raised our 1,000, like we just had a little art show and raised 1,000 in commissions.
Yeah.
And so we've got that, and then
there is a threshold for the project grants. There's a threshold for smaller investments.
Yes.
It's not an expectation that every submission be for the full $30,000.
Be what?
It's not an expectation that every submission be approaching $30,000. So there's another threshold for projects that are around, I think, 7.5K, might be 10K. There's within the project grants, there's smaller projects and larger projects.
Okay.
And just given the nature of your project and the timeline, that might be more appropriate, but it would be for work starting from 1st of January.
Yes. Oh, really? So that's what's the name of that grant called again?
It's Regional Arts Fund Project Grants.
Regional Arts Grant. Regional Arts
Fund Project Grant.
Fund. Yeah.
So we have
project
grants and quick response grants.
Yeah, maybe I'll look into that.
Yeah.
I'll read, because I did read all the terms and conditions for your the quick response, and that's how I ended up here, because it said to come here to discuss things, so that was good. But yeah, maybe I'll read the other thing. We've costed it all. We've already costed the men's shed. Have already costed how much the materials are and how much their labour is. But this is something, it'll be ongoing, because unfortunately the Hepburn Council doesn't have much money left over, and they've never got any money. They don't have money for the arts, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We've tried before, but we don't want to let that stop us doing what we've got to do.
Yeah.
Because it affects lots of people.
We also, on our website, we have for Regional Arts Victoria members, we have available a Smarty Grants database search function, which you can use your membership details to log in and search for far more grant opportunities than we're able to provide.
Okay. That's great. Our group, Daylesford Arts, we're called. Actually, our long name is Daylesford Regional Arts Cooperative, or Daylesford Arts for short. We are going to join RAV.
Yeah, great. Good to hear.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for your tips. I still might try, but I might try for the other ones as well.
Yeah, all right.
You know, nothing's ever a waste. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Anybody have more questions?
I think Bronte had a question if they're still here.
Yeah, so mine is we've just created a sort of bush tucker space at our local Aboriginal health unit, and the need is to activate the space with cultural art events. Is that, and the timeliness is probably going to be the school holidays, as that's when you can engage families. Is that enough of an immediate need, or is that a bit weaker than other ones?
It is challenging for self-determined project timelines, and it's all about how an applicant narrates their project, I guess. So if you can link the benefits of a project to a specific timeline, it simply could not happen at another time, then that could potentially be still included in the mix.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll keep developing it. And I've got a meeting tomorrow with an advisor, so I'll be able to talk about it more then too.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like an eligible activity. It's just the timing might be something that needs exploring a little bit more, and the rationale around that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bronte.
Jim, could I ask one quick question? Would you say community collaboration or anything like that is more important in any of the streams? Or can a project that's quite contained and doesn't have much community engagement or community collaboration, would that be as competitive as something that has a lot of community engagement? Like, is that a key part of the RAF, I guess? Is that something people should think about, or is it quite okay to just be an artist working on something themselves and the outcome be like purely their career and their practice?
Yeah, sure. So for both programs, professional development opportunities are included as valid activities. I guess with both programs, the higher the request, the higher the expectation of addressing the criteria. So assessors don't expect every project to tick every box of the program objectives. Otherwise we'd use arts to create world peace. But the projects can be quite focused and quite specific. The higher the level of collaboration is a better attribute for particular styles of projects. But if an artist is focusing on a residency opportunity, or we don't do curriculum-based work, but if we have done a series of residency opportunities in project grants where somebody's traveled to multiple countries over a period of time. Not every proposal needs to be all things to all people.
Thanks, Jim.
4 minutes left for maybe one more question.
There's one more in the chat, Jim. It's from Kirsty, and it says, for project grants, how much weight do assessors place on the strength of the artistic concept compared with exhibition outcomes?
Arts by its nature can be quite subjective, so not all the assessors will be across all types of arts practice, and the validity of arts practice can be supported by testimonials from people that artist has worked with previously, from reviews for previous work, from outlining an exhibition history. Yeah, the assessors try not to cast aspersions on whether they consider an artwork to be quality or not. I hope that answers that question. So I think we're coming close to time. I'm happy to answer one more question if anybody wants to stick around. But we might call that a wrap. Thanks everybody for attending. Thanks to my colleagues for managing the tech side in the background. If anybody wants to ask questions of advisors, the link is available on our website, or you can also shoot questions through to grants@rav.net.au. Have a great day, everybody.